I never dreamed of owning a Toyota Supra, but when I found this one, it was a complete nightmare. There was so much structural damage along with a lot of bad repairs. Once we got all these repairs taken care of, once we got all the structural damage taken care of, this car was starting to take shape. After removing the quarter panel, we found even more structural damage along with bad repairs. Once those were repaired, it was time to put the quarter panel on, which is going to happen in this episode. Welcome back to Jack Builds It, and welcome back to my Mark IV Supra build. You guys absolutely crushed it on the last episode, so if you guys could do it once more, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. That's what really helps me out, and it helps me finish these builds. Last week, we got a ton of work done. We finished all of the structural repairs. We got our rocker panel replaced. We got it corrosion protected. Now we need to come back here and get this quarter panel onto the car. The next step is setting it in place, welding up all of our seams, and getting it over to the body shop. That's a lot of work, like I always say. I'm so tired because we just finished the video yesterday.
And now we're back.
Let's get to work. All right, so one of the things that I noticed last week when I cut this panel off right here, which was the excess area of metal, I realized that this is rusted right here. So I've marked just beyond the rust. I'm gonna cut this out. We're gonna weld a new piece in there so that this thing can look as good as it does on the rest of the car. When removing rust, you want to make sure that you get every single piece of it. If you leave anything behind, you're going to have a problem pop up again. And since we're going to be closing this off with the quarter panel, I definitely want to make sure that I get all of the rust so that I don't have this problem happening again. We still have a budget in mind with this car. I don't have a lot of money to spend on it, and I want to use that money wisely when it comes to building the engine. So I'm recycling as much of the old metal as possible from the used quarter panel that we found in Texas. One of the most important things you can do while welding is clean the metal absolutely as best as you can. Once you have dirty metal, the welds will never come out good and you'll have a lot of issues with bubbling and porosity, which is basically air inside of the weld. Okay, so we got the rust repair done right here. It looks decent enough to call it done. And next step is going to be putting the quarter panel on. Off camera, I actually trimmed the rest of this piece right here. So the reason why I did that is because the more I looked at this, the more I thought to myself, I want to roll the entire edge and then leave the spots where these pieces bolt on, like the cladding on the outside of the car. I think that's going to be a better option to do it that way because it's going to give me that full clearance that I'm looking for, and I can trim the plastic pieces so that the tires won't rub. We are going to be running some big boy tires on this car because we're going to be making some big boy power. So to do that, now we have extra clearance. All right, next step, getting that quarter panel over there onto the car and fit it up permanently. First thing we need to do though is prep these sides here and get that all to bare metal, and then clean up the inside so that we can corrosion protect the back sides. And yeah, so let's get started. Now I prep all the joints for welding. This is going to be where I make my seam welds across the metal to join this quarter panel to the car. Once again, I want to give a thanks to Kyle for bringing in his air compressor. It came in handy when we needed it, and there was a lot of things that we couldn't do with the electric tools. There was things that were just too hard to get to, where we needed a small air tool to get in there to clean the metal. All right, so we have the floor panel in place, and by in place, I mean it's jammed in there right now. I did this off camera, wasn't easy, so now we have to jam this down into here, and you can see it's not really moving easy. Wait a minute. Woo, look at that. like a glove. Not bad.
Wow.
Now that it's good though, because it shows us that the floor is lined up with the sides. A little bit of movement here needed, so I'll tap that in a little bit to get it flat, clamp it in place, drill my holes, weld through primers already in place. Done. It's done.
This looks a whole lot better than the one that was there.
Yeah,
there's no hole.
You can tell, see, there's still a little bit of a gap right here, so I'm definitely gonna have to like tap that around a little bit. But I think that's because the floor got shoved this way and it pushed that in right there. So we'll fix that. We'll put this floor piece down so it's clamped together, and then we will weld it up. The problem is the welds that were on the other piece here were actually in different places, and you can see some of them are kind of there. Let me see if I can, there you go, kind of see that there. That weld is further over this way on the piece here, and the bottom piece is kind of out of the way. So we will have to do a couple spots where we weld from the top and the bottom. Sweet. All right, let's weld. As much as I joke about welding up all these pieces on the car, it's a major step in the right direction, because once we are finished welding everything, we can start the arduous process of the bodywork. Maybe that's the part that I'm least looking forward to, but all of this is not in vain. Once the car is finished, it will give me that satisfied feeling of doing something amazing and transforming a car that never should have been repaired. A lot of you guys have asked me what this tool is. This is basically a wire brush on the end of a drill, and I use it to clean out the weld zones so that I'm able to get a good weld. All right, so we got the floor welded in place. Kyle, you did a really good job cleaning all those up. I didn't have a lot of smoke or fire coming off of that, because that's what seam sealer does. It catches fire. Have you ever caught a car on fire, Kyle?
I mean, listen, there's a little soot right there. There's a little bit right. I think we know about catching cars on fire.
No, I mean like a real fire. I watched a guy burn a car down one time. That guy wasn't me. No, it wasn't me. So we got our panels prepped here. We have all the metal cleaned back pretty far. The main reason why you want to clean the metal back as far as I've cleaned it back is because when welding, you can get contaminants in there. It causes a bad weld. It just doesn't look pretty. And we want these to be solid welds. We want to grind this thing down and have it nice and smooth. So next step, get the quarter panel in place, set it on here, fit our door, fit our deck lid, and then we weld our quarter panel in place and we're done. We are on our way to the body shop.
Body shop!
I want to do something a little different on this quarter panel than I did with the Evo. The Evo doesn't have anything that bolts into the side right here. This actually has a plastic rocker cover piece that goes on there, and I'm planning on using that, or maybe even an aftermarket one, but I need to be able to clip this into place. So I'm going to leave these two holes right here, but I'm going to cut these in this shape. It's going to kind of go like this. So that way I can have a little bit of extra space. But what I'm going to do along these edges here, and I'll show you here with this one too again. So I'm going to cut it like that, right? So this one here will be cut around this area, right? Now this is going to roll over flat against our quarter panel. This piece in between here is going to roll over flat against the inner wheelhouse. And the same thing down here. I'll probably make this cut right here, something like, let's just say like that. I think like that would be good. Now, you know what? We're going to want to smooth that out. Let's make this piece a little smoother right there. There we go. We'll use that piece right there. We'll roll that over. We'll get the same exact kind of concept that's going to be going on up here. So right now, that's what I'm going to do. Before I put the panel on and get everything in place, I'm going to use this cavity wax, which is going to seal the inside from rust or prevent any rust from going on further, because these are really hard to find parts and I don't want to have to redo this later on. And speaking of really hard to find parts, I have been leaving my information all over the internet searching for some really hard to find Supra parts on sketchy websites. So just like I'm using this cavity wax right here to protect the inside of the car, I signed up for Delete Me to protect my information and remove it from those sketchy websites that I've been looking for Supra parts on. Here's why it's a big deal. Companies called data brokers collect your information from places like those sketchy websites. They sell it to anyone, putting you at risk of phishing scams, identity theft, or even stalking. It's unsettling, and it's made me more cautious about how my information is handled. That's where Delete Me comes in. They've helped me by tracking down my information across hundreds of data broker websites and getting it removed. This is my dashboard, and you can see exactly how many websites they've already scrubbed my data from. It's pretty impressive to see how much they've done for me. If you've ever had to dig around random websites like I have, or you're just concerned about your personal privacy, I highly recommend Delete Me. Go to joindeleteme.com/JBI and use code JBI at checkout to get 20% off. Take control of your personal data today. Now, let's get back to finishing this build because we have a date with the body shop tonight and we have to get this thing welded on, so. This is something totally custom. I have never done anything like this other than the Evo, but on this one, I'm leaving these little tabs here so that I'm able to put on whatever rocker I choose with a factory attachment hole. Here, Kyle and I remove the glass and fit the door. We want to get this on the car so that we're able to line up the quarter panel with the edge of the door. And by the way, if you slam a door that has a chain on it, the chain will come off and then you will have to climb to the very top to get that thing back set in place. Here I apply 3M panel bond to the edge of the quarter panel here that is going to go on to the outer wheelhouse. This will securely bond the quarter panel to the wheelhouse. I apply another bead to the outer wheelhouse. This is going to ensure that I get full contact with the panel bond all the way around the wheelhouse. I brush this to the edge of the panel just to make sure that there is no bare metal exposed on the edge that I cut off. I want to make sure that this is completely covered, sealing this from the outside elements. Not only is panel bond good for bonding, it also has anti-corrosive properties, keeping it from rusting, which is why I'm brushing this to the very edge of the panel. Another cool fact about panel bond is that it actually has glass beads in it, keeping it from getting fully compressed, allowing you to make a bond and a seal on any panel. With the door lined up and the panel clamped in place, it was time to start welding this quarter panel so that it's permanently installed on the car. When doing tack welds like this, you want to make sure that your heat is adequate so that you get enough burn through on the backside of the panel where you're not leaving any gaps in the metal. You want this thing to be solidly welded so that you have no chance of having any rust holes or anything that could get corrosion from the backside creeping through to the front, as well as a structural bond. Now I use a door skin hammer and a rubber dolly so that I'm able to knock over this flange. This will give me the wider clearance that I need for wider tires. Now I use this flanging tool here to clean up all of the hammer marks on the backside. No one's going to see it, but this will give us an OEM appearance as well as a nice clean surface to seam seal. It's the next day. We got a lot of work done yesterday, but we weren't unfortunately able to go to the body shop. There were some things that we had to take care of before that, but we got a lot of work done. We've rolled the hem flange here. We have got our parts in position. We've checked our door gap. Our door gap looks great. Everything on the car is starting to come together. The last few things that I need to do now are prep all of the weld zones, weld this seam right here, weld a few on the back, weld a few on the front, and then we're heading over to the body shop where we can put our factory looking welds back right all through here, and all through here to make this car look as OEM as possible and to have an undetectable repair. And that's what we do over here. We try to make the best cars and have the best repairs. This car and the design and the style is gonna be something very special, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. But dang guys, look at this. In literally a month and a half, we have done an insane amount of work to this car. We have taken it from a completely destroyed Supra that definitely probably was worth more in parts than it was to buy the car. And we have turned it into a really good looking car. Good looking in the sense that it still needs some cleanup stuff, but that's not far from now. And like I said, January is the goal. We need to get this thing painted. You guys suggested a lot of good colors in the last video, and I've been going through those colors and kind of putting them on a board and listing them out to see what I'm gonna go with, but that's enough talking. Let's get to work. Let's get this thing welded up, load it on the trailer, and then get it over to the body shop.
There's nothing like the feeling of having the quarter panel installed and doing my final welds on the car just before bringing it over to the shop. This is such a great feeling because now it is getting that much closer to being on the road. I cannot wait until this car starts up for the first time. But until then, we've got a lot of work to do. So let's just get this thing finished and get it over to the body shop. Here I use a brown roll-off disc to remove the paint. This will clean up the spots where the spot weld machine will be used. This is really important to get this very clean. Otherwise, it will contaminate the tips on the spot weld machine, giving you an improper weld. Now I do the same with a green roll-off disc in these areas where it's hard to reach. This is flexible, so it makes it a lot easier to clean the paint. Now while we're over at the body shop, we get to use another piece of amazing equipment by Car Aligner. This is a spot weld machine that will put back a factory weld and keep this car as OEM as possible, giving us a safe and sound repair. Now it's official, we have the front end welded, and now we have our quarter panel welded in place. As you can see, the spot welds look factory. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cleanup right there. Obviously, that is not the final form, but as you can see here, it looks really good. Every single one of these spot welds turned out really nice, OEM appearing. Now we need to strip all of the paint off this car, get this thing ready to be put in epoxy primer. And before we do all that, we gotta clean all of that in here. I mean, this thing is disgusting. Take a look. It looks really dirty and disgusting in there. So now what I have to do is get this back to the shop. I got to clean this car up and it's good to go. I mean, we are that much closer to our goal of being done in the first week of January. Fingers crossed, because it's still a lot of work. There's probably at least a week's worth of work on both sides of this car. So busy, yes, we will be very busy. So awesome. Best part about this is, guys, we got this car restored to factory specifications with used parts. I mean, a lot of work, a lot of late nights, but now let's get this back to the shop, get this car cleaned up, and yeah, let's get this thing done.
All right, we're back from the body shop, guys. The quarter panel is welded on. It looks amazing. The car is ready to start getting its final form, and that means we got to do a lot of body work. But before we do body work, I want to remove the windshield and I want to remove the rear gate. We can already see on the rear gate there's some rust going around the edges, and that's a common thing with that car. Everybody knows that there is a problem with rust starting and forming around the edges on the rear gate. So let's just make sure there's none forming on the pillars or the edge of the roof. I'm extremely tired, but we got to get this done. But we can't just remove the glass and not do something great. We need to do an epic glass montage.
Epic indeed, I think, guys. What do you think? Anyway, I found some stuff that's not so good. Big surprise, this Supra has been full of surprises of things that are not so good. And remember, guys, that's what I love about these cars, because we get to change the total look of this car with some professional tools and not all the professional tools we need. We have done a major amount of work to this car with some really cool high-tech tools, but we've also done a lot of work to this car without as many high-tech tools. But take a look at what I found on the windshield post right here. It's not so good. So as you can see here, there is a lot of pitting and rust all on this section here. I don't think it's all the way through. I'm gonna hit that with the wire wheel really quick just to see how bad that actually is. And if it's okay and it's not that bad, I am probably going to try to just repair this area like we did on the Evo. There's a little more on the other side. So you can see here, it has a little bit of rust where the pinch weld is not fully sealed. We can clean that up and that'll be okay. We have the same thing going on here. As you can see, a little bit more going on there. And at the very top, there is a little bit, let me get that to focus. There's a little bit of suspect parts right here. Not too bad, not as bad as the other side. This is definitely gonna have to be taken care of and repaired. Once we get this all repaired, we will seam seal our edges. Everything will be good to go. And then we get to do more body work, because the other side of the car right now, I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do. I still haven't found a panel yet. If you guys know of any panels on the left side of the car, please let me know, because I would love to be able to find another quarter panel and replace that one. But if not, I got a plan for the other side. I think I'll be able to take care of it. We'll see. Like, you know what? This has been a journey to begin with anyway. So now that we know the front has got a little bit of rust, let's go see how bad that hatch is. Fingers crossed, it's not that bad. It's always that bad. All right, so I'm gonna have to do the hatch a little different. Let me go grab the hatch right now. The wing is still on it, and I need to reuse this glass. So this glass cannot break. If this one breaks, we're in trouble. It's gonna be expensive. Oh, it's heavy. This was so much lighter when there was 2 people here doing this. Oh, ow. This hurts my arm. Oh. Okay, we're gonna put it on the stand like this. Easy. Okay, so looking underneath here, you can see there is some indications of rust on this deck lid. There's a spot here, there's a spot here, and there's a spot here. It's not that bad on this side. On the other side, though, I do know this has some pitting going on, and I'm probably going to have to do some metal work and metal repairs there. It's okay, not a big deal, but the next step is getting this glass cut out. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm gonna have to try to cut this out as gently as possible. It's not that bad. It's easy. I'm gonna smoke through this. Once again, we have another unique glass tool here. You can see these angled blades here. They attach to this here, and this is like a drag handle where you pull to pull that through. I'm gonna have to use that on the backside to loosen up that urethane. Hopefully I do not break this glass. Guys, please, if you don't know, this stuff is hard to find. I really hope I don't break this glass. Fingers crossed. Cross your fingers.
Like everything else we've done on this car, this was actually really hard to do. The urethane did not want to cut, and I had to use several size blades just to get through.
Well, unfortunately, there's no way around this, but sorry to everyone that is saying, you could save that. I couldn't save it. I tried. I tried everything I could do. And my priority is this glass, because I'm pretty sure this glass is going to cost a lot more than this seal. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. Cut that open there. Cut that open there. Now, you can just get down in there and cut this piece all together. I should be able... Ow! That's a razor right to the hand. One razor blade and one Band-Aid later, we've started making progress. Let's keep cutting.
Unfortunately, we can add $100 more to the list of things that I need to buy on this car. Hopefully we can keep this build under $30,000. That sounds like a lot, but for building a Supra from the ground up, I don't think it's going to be that much. Remember, we got this car for free, but we've had to buy a ton of parts for it.
I think we are free. Ha ha ha. We did it. Ah. Ha ha. Victory. I mean, in a way there's victory, but in a way it just means more work. Upon further inspection, you can see here we have a hole in the deck lid. This is pretty bad. It's going to be pitted. I'm probably going to have to do some metal repair there, but if you come along here, you can see it's just pretty nasty inside this channel. There's just little soft starts to where there is going to be rust underneath. I'm definitely going to have to clean all of this up, get this thing into epoxy primer, but take a look. Most of this is pretty good. There is a few spots on the top where we have a little bit of rust, like right here and on the edges over here. That's probably from this thing being removed before, and when it was removed, it was never primed again, so that caused a little bit of rust. If you go here on the other side with me though, just before we go over there, take a look over here. There's some more going on under here. We are going to shave the wiper hole. I don't want a rear wiper on this car. We can definitely make it look a lot cleaner and a lot smoother. Now you can see here we had a little bit more of some rust starting right there. And if I take the razor blade and give it a good old scrape, you can see it's not that bad. There's no holes. This is a good sign. Hopefully when I strip this down and I get some stuff cleaned up on it, we don't have to worry about it. But now, if you come over here, once again, we have a hole. Yeah, that's not good. I just pushed that through with a very thin razor blade, so sweet. That's gonna be another repair, but thankfully it's not that bad. We can cut this section out. This is probably about a 4-inch to 5-inch section here. That'll probably have to be replaced and shaped and made to look like the other side. Over here, you can see we have a little bit of rust starting in the same spots, nothing too major. But if we flip it around and go to the top, you can see there's just so much paint on this deck lid. It is really rough. Now, let's get this thing cleaned up. We can get this thing in the corner, get it ready to get started on. But first, I want to go look at that quarter panel. So we already know there is a lot of body filler on this quarter panel. The unfortunate thing is we're going to have to fix a lot of this. I think this is going to have to be repaired. There is a lot of grinding, welding, and all kinds of other stuff on this. So the metal might be really thin, I don't know. But one of the things I want to take a look at is this right here. You can't see it very well, but it's bubbling. So let's open this up a little bit right here. Just give it a little tap. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh my gosh.